This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
The Crucible is a movie that was written by Arthur Miller and adapted from his play, which he authored in 1953, going by the same name. Miller released this 2-hour and 3-minute movie on November 29, 1996. The film, as directed by Nicholas Heinemann, portrays the events taking place in Salem, Massachusetts, in 1692. The people of this community were religious and devoted to serving God. The main actors in this movie include Daniel Day-Lewis, who acted as John Proctor, Winona Ryder as Abigail Williams, Paul Schofield as Judge Thomas Danforth, and Joan Allen as Elizabeth Proctor. Other actors who contributed to the film include Bruce Davidson as Reverend Parris, Rob Campbell as Reverend Hale, Jaffrey Jones as Thomas Putman, Karen Graves as Mary Warren, and Charlene Woodard as Tituba, among others. The movie shooting took place on the island of Hogg in Essex, Massachusetts. The Crucible has some historical accuracy. The movie starts with a scene where young girls in their teenage gather in the woods and dance while chanting. These girls secretly organize this ceremony to give them a forum to perform magic in order to entice some village men to love them. Leeper says, the opening sequence shows a voodoo-like ceremony in the woods complete with mystic chalk symbols drawn on the ground, and Tituba chanting a perfectly recorded version of the Anvalu chant. From this, it is evident that Tituba, Charlene Woodard, a black American slave, was leading the ceremony. Abigail Williams, who wished for John Proctor's wife to die, slaughtered a hen and drank the blood. Before the ceremony climaxed, Reverend Parris, Bruce Davison, who was Abigail's uncle, came across them. The ceremony came to an abrupt end, and the girls started running away. In this event, Betty, Parris' daughter, and Ruth, the daughter of Thomas, fell and became unconscious. The parents of these girls suspected that their daughters were demon-possessed. They then called Reverend Hale to come and look into this issue. The girls had to look for means of rescuing themselves from this problem, and so Abigail indicated Tituba as a witch. Tituba, after subjection to torment, confessed to be a witch. This made the girls name other people whom they had seen practicing witchcraft. Elizabeth Proctor, John's wife, was one of the named people. This was Abigail's plan to kill her in order for her to get back John Proctor. The community at that time was religious and did not entertain witchcraft. According to their judicial systems, anybody who denied the accusations was supposed to die. The suspects were supposed to be hung. This meant that John Proctor's wife, Elizabeth Proctor, was to be hung if she denied the allegations, as was Abigail's plan. John defended his wife against the accusation, an issue that turned against him. He was accused of being a witch and was hung. Elizabeth survived the execution of the sentence because she was pregnant. Arthur Miller's play and movie were a reflection of what used to happen in the United States of America. It was a portrayal of the trials, which used to take place in Salem, Massachusetts. There was a committee headed by Senator Joe McCarthy. The committee sought un-American activists and questioned them. Those who pleaded guilty were set free, and those who refused to name others were persecuted. In addition, those who pleaded innocent were hung. It was a situation where reason was not used in the judicial system, and people were made to confess things out of fear. Those who wanted to fight for their reputation, like John Proctor in the movie, were killed by hanging. This House of Representatives Committee on Un-American Activities summoned and questioned Miller in 1956. The committee convicted Miller of contempt of Congress because he failed to name the people who attended the secret meetings. The Crucible is based on an actual historical event of the past, but it is neither a historical play nor a historical romance. Miller himself said in a note about the historical accuracy of his play that the play is not historical in the sense in which the word is used by academic historians. There are historical characters presented in this film. Miller used the exact names of some of them. He also accepts that he never captured the whole of their characters and personalities. All he portrayed was what he could capture from the documents of their trial cases. Some of the historical characters depicted in the movie include Betty Paris, Elizabeth Proctor, John Proctor, Abigail Williams, Samuel Paris, and Reverend Hale, among others. Miller must have researched well into history and therefore tried to make this movie accurate with history as much as possible. Leeper suggests, if the Crucible is not historically accurate, it transcends it. Even though the movie tried to be historically accurate, there are minor deviations from history. The characters he employed in presenting his message in the movie were not real historical individuals and thus were prone to have some differences. The chant by the tuba at the onset of the film shows that this might have happened sometimes later than the real setting of the play depicts. The movie also portrays another lapse of historical accuracy in the execution of the death sentences. The movie shows a group of people hanged at the same time. In the real historical setting, these people were hanged at different times. Rebecca Nurse was hanged on July 19th, Proctor on August 19th, and Martha Corey on September 22nd, not all on the same gallows. Reverend George Burroughs prayed on the gallows and not Proctor, as it is in the movie. The movie proves to be in tandem with the historical happenings in Salem despite these minor deviations. The events taking place in the Crucible are examples of what is happening in our society nowadays. Some people live in fear and, as such, are not free to express themselves and point out what is right. Like the trials that were taking place in Salem, our judicial systems have become very unfair, condemning the innocent while letting the guilty free. This further aggravates the people's fear, making them to confess falsely what they have not done. The form of judgments made in Salem, Massachusetts, is still seen in our governments, where people do not use reason to pass judgments but use the opinion of many. Even though the events taking place in Salem may not take the same form in our societies, they still exist. This essay on analysis of the movie The Crucible was written and submitted by a student just like you. The Ivy Panda Samples database hosts thousands of works similar to this one on various subjects. Visit ivypanda.com to find what you are looking for, free of charge.